What's up, everybody? BigSweetC here with you. Got a fantastic new episode of the Another Gamer Dad podcast. We're on episode number 15. We're going to be talking about the Lions. We're going to be talking about Life is Strange, True Colors. We're going to be talking about the cinema aspect as it pertains to where we're headed in the future. But first, as always, we're going to get into a little bit about my personal life type of stuff. Before we get too far, though, I do want to give you guys a heads up. So we finished a couple of games, and we've moved on to a couple of new ones. So I want to hit you up with the new schedule. Wednesdays, we are going to continue Grounded with Scavenger on Wednesdays. We're going to be starting Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I played it back on Nintendo Wii, but I have yet to play the Nintendo Switch remaster of it. So we'll be getting into Skyward Sword on Thursdays. We just started Red Dead Online. Another one with Scavenger on Fridays, and then on Saturdays, we'll continue with Elden Ring. But I think we're pretty close to being done with that one. It just depends on how much extra stuff I actually want to show. But I think we could probably finish that up in one or two more episodes, and then we'll be moving on to Black Myth Wukong after that. So Grounded, Skyward Sword, Red Dead Online, Elden Ring / Black Myth Wukong. If you guys are interested in any of that, definitely check it out. So, having said all that, we'll get into it's weird, so my wife and I technically moved back here from Vegas. If you guys don't know, my wife and I have kind of moved around a lot. So, we first lived in LA where we met, and then we moved here to Vegas. Then we moved back to Michigan to be close to my family while my parents were sick. Then we moved back out to LA, moved to another spot in LA, and now we're back here in Vegas, where this is pretty much where we've decided we want to settle down. But the truth is, after all this moving and everything, and even though we technically moved here at like March, April sometime, I still don't feel like we're really settled in. Like I still feel like we're getting settled in here, because we keep having to go back and forth from LA, because we do have a home out there that we've been trying to get rented out to somebody. Now we do finally have a property management company, SIG. They seem totally legit. We found them on, I think it was Thumbtack. My wife found them, but Kyle was the guy that brought us in. Fergie is our property manager. They seem like great people. They really seem to know what they're doing, which is cool, and they're willing to work with us, considering my father-in-law is not the greatest English speaker. So they're the fact that they're cool, calm, and collect about all that kind of stuff and understanding is absolutely fantastic in my point of view. But it's an old house. It was built in like 53 or something like that, and outside of a few repairs here and there, it's not like the house has really been renovated at any time up to code, if you will. So we've still got a bunch of repairs that need to be made. We have we have a hood for our range in the kitchen that needs to be replaced, and we need to reset it up because it's not up to code right now. We've got a few spots on the roof that need to be repaired. It needs to be painted. And then there's some little things. We have a closet door that got banged up that needs to be fixed, and so there's still like little things here and there that kind of keep us from really being able to rent this place out. And as long as it's not rented out, we're still not technically moved out of there. It feels like, and so whenever we come here, it just feels like we don't have any time to really get set up. Like I've got a bunch of new stuff that I wanted to set up for our little gaming space here. I've got 2 lights that I wanted to put up. I've got this table that is supposed to be a huge like kind of connected table, but I haven't gotten a chance to like connect it or anything, so everything's still separated. I still have to like look off to the side to get the chat and everything. So it, like just little things that I would have liked to have had done by now. But we just haven't gotten the chance. And it's a little disheartening, but I feel like we've officially finally, now that we have this property management company, I feel like we've we've officially made our move here to Vegas. Um, and without going into too much, what really kind of brings me down is the fact that and my wife can attest to this. It seems like a lot of work for her and I, with nothing to show in return. Like we're not expecting to get either of these houses passed down to us, and so we're putting in all this work on on both of these places, and then we got to turn around, and then we got to end up finding our own place after that, and so it really kind of like drags it down a little bit, where it's like you put all this investment into something, and then you have to turn around, and then you have to put all that same investment into something else, because your initial investment is not really a good one. you know and so we've got a 2-year-old. We're working on kid number 2, and so we've got all this stuff kind of going on and on and on, and it just doesn't seem to be enough time of the day or anything to really get going. And I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer or anything. I just kind of wanted to get some stuff off my chest a little bit because I feel like it needed to be said, and it's really, again, it doesn't bother me that much outside of little irks and quirks here and there. But it feels good to get some stuff off your chest sometimes, and just put it out there, uh, namely because keeping stuff bottled in can really only mixes the concoction. You know what I mean? And it's like you're distraught about this. You're distraught about this. The two things have nothing in common, but the distress between the two bottles up and then explodes like an elixir. And it just not something that I want to have happen. But I also kind of want to put it on tape because I know my wife listens to this, and so I want her to know where I'm coming from. I still love her to death. It's not like this is ruining our relationship at all. It's just, I planned on, I was hoping, we would be farther along in the updating, for the gaming setups and in the office and whatnot, if you will, than we are. And, it's just kind of a bummer that we're not, but, it's one of those things where we got to do what we got to do. And, better things will come. Hopefully, that's I believe, I'm a firm believer in karma, and I think if you put out good in this world, you will get good in return. My wife and I have been putting out a lot more than we've been getting in return lately, but like I can't really complain that much because I have her and I have my son Christopher, and I mean, I that's probably more than I actually deserve. So I can't really be all that upset. Again, I don't really know where I'm going with this. It's more of like, just an example of me putting myself out there, airing out my laundry in an attempt to help you realize that you don't have to keep this stuff inside. You can talk to people about it, whether it's complete strangers on the internet or your best friend or your mom, your dad, or whoever, maybe a teacher that you really trust. Um, it's better to get it out there, and you generally feel like there's been a weight lifted off your shoulders, if it's something that's been really really heavy, laying you down, weighing you down. And so that's just kind of where we're at right now. I told you guys part of this is me keeping you up to date where I am, not just physically but mentally as well. And that's where we're at right now. We're kind of caught in this rock and a hard place. Like I said, it's gonna take us some time. I feel like to kind of get our own place. I know my wife and I are always talking about trying to find something as soon as possible, but it's taken a lot out of us to do this, part of it. And it's only gonna get busier when we try and find our own place. And so I love you, babe. We can do this, and if it takes some time, it takes some time. um but yeah, I feel like we're officially over now. and so we can start working on the updates, and getting this, the gaming room and the office, the office, set up in a fashion that we actually like. And maybe then I can convince my wife to play more with us on the streams, but more importantly, maybe get into being with me on this podcast, as maybe not as like a person on camera like myself, but perhaps a voice in the background, so I have someone to kind of talk with as opposed to just talking to you guys. I think that'll bring an interesting dynamic, at least for the initial part of the gamer dad life and whatnot. But that's again, more just kind of incoherent rambling by myself than anything. So before we get too far into it, we're just gonna wrap up this segment. First commercial break. Again, do yourself a favor, cop the goods. We've got mugs, we've got shirts. Kind of hard to see, but we've got mugs, we've got shirts. You can all jump down in the spring. I think it's just spring now. When I initially signed up with them, it was Teespring. Shout out to Ghost Dave. He copped himself a hoodie, and he looks phenomenal in it. I meant to put that picture out today. Today's Tuesday. I meant to put that picture out today, and I totally forgot about it until just now. I didn't totally forget about it, but it's like one of those things where it was like, okay, I'm going to do it now, and then something pops up. Okay, I'll do it after that, and then you forget, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to do it now. Well, now this has popped up, and so we're going to get that out there. We're going to show off Ghost Dave and his new hoodie. It looks fantastic on you, buddy. So thank you so much. Thank you to him for copping that gear and supporting your boy. Do yourself a favor. Check out the link below. I think there's a lot of good stuff that you can get, and just like Ghost Dave, I think you guys will like it. So, Teespring, I think it's Sweetness Creator Collection or something to that effect. I don't know. The link is down in the description box below. Check it out, and support your boy with buying some gear. Now, as we get into our gaming segment, we want to talk about we were just talking about how we finished a couple of games, one of which was Life is Strange: True Colors. It's the third Life is Strange game. It originally came out in 2021. It was released by Square Enix, developed by Deck Nine, which is formerly known as Idle Minds. They were the developer of the Ratchet and Clank collection. They did Before the Storm and the Life is Strange 1 remaster collection. And so I had never really heard of them before until and they actually liked my tweet saying that we were playing the game. And so I looked them up to see what they were. I didn't realize they had done so much. Now as Idle Minds is when they developed Ratchet and Clank. When they switched over to Deck Nine is when they did Before the Storm, and then the Life is Strange remaster, which came with the remaster for both the first game and the DLC Before the Storm, which again I loved a lot. And this game I actually liked quite a bit. I've been a big fan of the previous two, Life is Strange, both 1 and 2. So it's not really that surprising that I liked 3. But I didn't know what I was really getting into. And as we got into it, the game follows a lady named Alex Chen. She leaves her foster home to reunite with her brother Gabe after 8 years of them being apart. And then as the story progresses, Gabe's untimely death leads to the town history with a corporation by the name of Typhon, which actually set the game up perfectly, in my opinion. I absolutely loved the aspect of this little town relying on a major corporation, this mining corporation, to sustain itself. And like we were talking about this during the stream, There's a lot of really small towns in America that rely on these specific companies that have come in and basically taken over all their major operations. And if that company decides to up and leave, that town is going to go under. I know from firsthand, not I shouldn't say firsthand experience. I wasn't alive in the '60s and the '70s, but um, and then more uh, you know, uh, recently. Thank you. I can think of the word. Like the early '90s into the mid '90s with NAFTA and everything. I grew up in Michigan, right? And specifically, I went to a town called. I lived in Ann Arbor for a long time. Well, a little while, 10 years or so. And that's a little bit different. Ann Arbor is a fairly big city that has a huge university behind it. Uh, and that university basically feeds everything else. You go to the University of Michigan. Um, Michigan has a big football program, and then those people they tend to stay in Ann Arbor because Ann Arbor attracts a certain type of people. And the University of Michigan attracts those similar type of people. So, but I went to high school in a place called Saline, and Saline didn't really have any of that. It was a very small town. It was very uh, agriculture based. Like it was based on its farming. Now, as Ann Arbor expanded, and as Detroit expanded, we got more of like the suburban type and the less country folk. Um, but like Celine was one of the lucky ones. I happened to be in a town that was that didn't suffer. Whereas you turn around and you look at a town like Detroit or Flint, and when they started outsourcing all the work, the whole town went to shit. Like Flint is, one of the poorest places in the country now. They have lead in their water, which President Obama promised to fix and never did. Like because they don't have clout to actually get any help from the government. And at one point, Detroit was not just the fastest growing city in the country, it was the fastest growing city in the world. Like it was the New York, the LA, the Tokyo, the Munich, the London of the world. Specifically because of the car industry. And as soon as that left, as soon as they were able to outsource the work to Mexico and Canada, and eventually like China and everything, nothing replaced that, right? And so you have all these people that at one point had all this money that now doesn't have any money, and so they stop going out, and so all the local restaurants and stuff, they're forced to close down because they don't have any customers anymore. And so that really hit home with me in this story because you have this, um, what is it, New Haven, I believe or Haven Springs, sorry, Haven Springs, Colorado, where this game takes place, and you have this company, Typhon, that has a big mining business there. But that mining business is what keeps people moving to that town so they can get jobs with this company, and then those jobs then create more jobs because you need places to eat, you need places to live, you need places to relax, like a bar and whatnot. And so this company bringing these people here and paying these people are what then allow you to create bars and record stores and rec weed shops and and diners and whatnot, because that brings in all the money. But as you go through the game, you get this uh, moral dilemma where you can expose the corruption of this company, but the company is going to move away, or you can let the corruption continue, and the city is going to be fine. Who do you hurt? Do you hurt your friends that live there and depend on this company being there, or do you bring down the company that's killing your brother? Like it was this absolutely great kind of like moral background. And I say background because it's just basically what sets up the story, right? You follow as Alex Chen as she kind of discovers who she is. You know, she comes from this foster home. She hasn't seen her brother in 8 years. They used to be best friends. And then, you know, he gets adopted and she doesn't, for whatever reason, you know. And so they tend to grow apart because they haven't talked to each other in 8 years. And so now Alex, who has basically been abandoned for the last decade, has a chance to reunite with at least somebody that she's aware of. But she doesn't really. She hasn't gotten a chance to really do anything, right? Like I don't have any experience living in a foster home, but I can't imagine you have very much opportunity. You know, like maybe a few opportunities. You can do really well in school. Maybe you can get the fuck out of there and go to like a big university or something. But you know, like I can't imagine a whole lot of foster students are uh, going around and like being discovered in a bagel shop, and then they get to be put into a major motion picture like Natalie Portman type of stuff, you know, like, I'm guessing you probably don't get a whole lot of chance to like really go and explore even the area that you're in because you're kind of stuck in this foster home. And so, you know, Alex hasn't really gotten a chance to discover who she is. And so she comes out to this new place and she gets introduced to all these people that love her brother and they're very welcoming to her because of her brother. And it gives her a chance to kind of discover who she is. And so you kind of create this character as you go through this murder mystery with her brother. And you are the one that really develops her identity and who she becomes. And I really love that aspect of it. Because those have always kind of been, you know, my favorite games. Like I'm an RPG guy, right? And this is very much an action RPG where, you know, maybe you don't have like the random encounters with enemies and stuff like that, but you're still making actions and choosing and dictating what this character does, and those actions and those choices that you make early in the game develop your character later in the game. You know, give you different um, different stature. I don't know why I can't think of words today. My grammar, I guess, is my literacy is down. But the relationships you build early on change throughout the structure. Your character, your personality, you can tell changes as you go through this game, which was different from, you know, like the first one. Max Caulfield, she very much knows who she is, right? She knows who she is, and she's shy at first because she's returning to a place where she was before, and she was a different person before. She goes away, she gets a chance to kind of develop her personality, become who she wants to be, and now she's returning, and she's got these innate expectations of what people are going to think of her now that she is who she is compared to who she was when she was there originally. And so you know, you're in the first one, you're Max Caulfield, and who you are dictates your relationship with others. Whereas this one is you're Alex Chen, but she doesn't really know who she is. So as you discover your likes and your wants, that's how you build the relationships with the other people in this one. Uh, I compared this one more to the first one because it's more of that kind of character development, whereas two is more you have these characters and they're kind of thrown into situations, right? It's more about the situations they're thrown into than the character development. Now you still have obviously you still have like the choices and the consequences of said choices in number two, but again, you're not really building your character, so to speak, as you are trying to navigate these situations. Whereas in one and three, you are who you are, or you're building who you are, and so this one felt more like the first one to me than the second one. Um, but you know, difference being first one you have this kind of like mystery, but it's just a mystery set about between friends, whereas in this one you bring the town into it, right? Because you've got the town's reputation, you've got the future of the town involved in this mystery, and what you do as you progress the story not just affects like you and your little group of people like Max Caldwell and Chloe Price. Now you're literally you're affecting everybody that lives in this town, even the people that you haven't met. And I think that putting it on that grander scale, I think was a very good choice by Deck Nine, and I really liked it a lot. Um, I think it had amazing character choices, kind of going along the lines of, save the town or expose the corruption. But you also have little choices. You can help others dictate how they are. You have a mom that's come down with Alzheimer's, but she hasn't told her daughter yet. You can help her with that, or you can decide to let her figure it out on her own. You have, Gabe's death leads to his, and I'm not sure how she got a settlement because they weren't. It's not like they were married, and I don't think he had adopted her son. But Gabe's girlfriend gets offered a settlement by this company for his death, and so you have the option to help her take the settlement money, or say, hey, live your life, live in struggle, but know that you couldn't be bought off because these people murdered your boyfriend. Um, and so these actual, like, these real moral dilemmas really up the stakes, in my opinion, and I thought it was great. I thought Erica Mori was fantastic as a voice actress for Alex. The rest of the cast was good. Han Soto as Gabe. The girl who played Steph, what's her name, Betts or something. That was cool to see her make a comeback. Now, I didn't notice it at first, but as you're going, as I was doing research for this review, I come to find out Steph is actually from Arcadia Bay, the first game, and totally on character. In the first one, she plays like a Dungeons and Dragons type game. And lo and behold, she's the one that sets up the the LARP, the live action role playing game, in this one. So to see characters return in each of the games. In the second one, you had David Madsen, the school security guard. He shows up in Life is Strange 2, and in this one, you have Steph comes back from Life is Strange 1 into Life is Strange 3. Which I think is very cool. Not only from a like a character standpoint, but from a developer standpoint. Like that's fantastic that you discover these people that you like working with, and you find a reason to give them more work. They're like the Adam Sandler of video games, right? Adam Sandler is notorious for casting his friends, because it's like, why make these movies without these guys when I know they can do the job and no one else is going to hire them? So I love that aspect of the storytelling of this, which is great because it was very different from what I expected. Now, I'm not going to lie, like when this game first released, and it I don't remember a bunch of it now because it's been a few years, but like from what I remember, when this game released, there was like a huge backlash because everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's trans propaganda, in your face trans propaganda," and it's forcing this trans narrative on young kids and people, and it's gonna pervert their minds and everything. I didn't really find that. Now I know there's like a little bit, and this was actually a great example of how I disagree with that assessment. Right? You find a letter that Steph had written, or like a journal entry or something that Steph had written about Izzy, her her old girlfriend, bandmate, I should say. I don't know if it was official that they were actually dating, but her old bandmate comes out as trans, and like Steph doesn't want to deal with it. Like she's like, I don't want to say she doesn't want to deal with it because that sounds bad, but it's something that she had to come to terms with, and she wasn't ready to come to terms with that, so she breaks up with this person because of it, right? Well, I don't want to say because of it, but because they've become different people. And so I think that's a great little nuance in there for those people that are saying that this is just trans propaganda, because this is also the company saying, hey, we understand that not everybody is with the program, or or is with this, like, because I mean, honestly speaking, the vast majority of this country is not down with the trans stuff. You know, like, I know we have one political party that says we are, and that if you're not, you're this bigot and a hate filled individual. But here you go, you have this company saying, hey, like, we don't agree with that. You are who you are, and what you feel is what you feel, and we're not going to discriminate against what you feel. Um, and again, you get a chance to decide, right? You have, I think his name is Ryan, or whatever the dude's name is. You can kind of pursue a relationship with him, or you can pursue a relationship with Steph. So you can build this character as you develop this story. And so, like, I didn't see the propaganda, so to speak, that was being spewed out. Like, I remember, from the initial release, I thought the character development story was absolutely fantastic, and I think it gave you a bunch of leeway to, um, guide your character through the story based on your own personal biases and beliefs and whatnot. And there wasn't one kind of, um, narrative push over another, which I thought was great. I thought was very refreshing, because it's not at all what I was expecting. Um, and I think that character development, the story, um, J. Jonah Jameson being in it, I think it was an absolutely phenomenal game. I give it two huge thumbs up. I definitely recommend playing all three of them. During the stream, I think I said, 1, 3, 2, I think is the order I would place them in, but that's not necessarily true. Like, they're different enough that I don't really think that there's a reason to rank them. You know what I mean? I think all three of them are worth playing. All three of them are very good games, and it's got me excited for, Life is Strange 4 Double Exposure. We go back to playing as Max Caulfield, so I'll be interested to see how that goes. But I think it was very well done, and I couldn't be happier that we played. I'm glad we finally got around to playing it. And if it takes the excuse that I can only stream from my PlayStation, so we're playing PlayStation games today, then so be it. I'm definitely excited for Double Exposure. We will absolutely play Double Exposure. I don't know if it'll be right when it comes out, but at some point we will get to it. And these are great games. The Life is Strange series, franchise is another great one by Square Enix. In my opinion, I think Square Enix gets a lot of flack because they've had some really bad games. I'm not gonna lie. Not all of their games have been home runs, but for the vast majority of their longevity, I'd say Square Enix has some of the best games of all time. And I stand by them as a company. Again, Babe Ruth didn't hit a home run every time he got up to the plate. So sometimes you're going to fail, but most of the time Square Enix puts out pretty good stuff. And if they continue working with Deck 9, I think I think there'll be a bright future for the Life is Strange series. All right, second commercial break. Again, another huge shout out to your boy, our boy, Ghost Dave. We all know him. He's one of the moderators on my channel. I can't thank him enough for buying that hoodie. And I just want to make sure. I know I keep doing it kind of in between, but this is why I keep doing it. I want to make sure that he knows how much I appreciate him buying that hoodie. And I hope you guys all take it as as a sign that you should drop down in the description box and check out that link below as well. Because Dave, thank you so much, man. I can't thank you enough, homie. Like, you've been a huge supporter since very early on. And shoot, man, you're one of the reasons why I like keep doing it. You, Nico, dude, Scavenger. There's a few people I can say that about, but you're definitely in a very, very small group of people that makes me appreciate the fact that I kept doing this, Dave. And I hope one day that I can somehow show that to you. All right. Now we'll get into our sports segment. It is back, ladies and gentlemen. We just finished up week 1 of the NFL season. My favorite sport, the only sport that really matters, is finally back. The regular season has begun. And my very own Detroit Lions go out and get a first week win, really, really confirming the preseason hype. There was a bunch of hype coming off our great run last year where we went to the NFC Championship game. We almost make it to the Super Bowl. We're a play or two away from the Super Bowl. But easily the most success the franchise has ever had last year. We won 2 playoff games. That's twice as many as the rest of our existence combined. And so, there was a lot of hype going into this year because our team is young, right? Our team is one of the youngest. I think we're like number 4 or 5 youngest team in the NFL. And so for us to have so much success with such a young team, there's a lot of expectation that comes with it, right? You're good now. You should, because you're young, you should only get better or at least sustain the success. And coming out and beating the Rams in week 1, I think really confirms that we're here to stay. Like we're not a team to be trifled with. We're not the same old Lions who would go 12-4 one year and then 3-13 the next. That's not who this group is. That's not who this group wants to be. And it's exciting for the future, in the immediate future, right? Like we have big aspirations of bringing all these people back, getting our little upgrades here and there. We have Super Bowl aspirations, and I think coming out and beating the Rams in week 1 was our confirmation that, hey, we're not fucking around. We're here to play. And it was a very, very, very good week 1 win. Because don't get me wrong, we were at home. The Rams are a good football team. The Rams were a play or 2 away from beating us in the first round of the playoffs last year at Ford Field. They come and they're leading until about 5 seconds left in the game on Sunday night. We have to go into overtime, and we really dominated in overtime. We win the toss. We go right down the field, score a touchdown to finish them off. But the Rams are a good team. Shoe boy, Cooper Kupp looks to be healthy again. He had a day. 14 catches, 130 yards or something like that, and a touchdown. Now that he's healthy, now that he's back to form, Cooper Kupp, when he's healthy, with Matthew Stafford as his quarterback, is easy a top 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And he looks to be back to that 1,900-yard guy. And he's going to be tough. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be tough. Kyron Williams looks to be the real deal. He's tough runner inside the tackles. He doesn't need a whole lot of lead blocking, which is what the Rams want to do, right? They want to run the single back, stretch the field type stuff. But you do need somebody that can also get inside the tackles and get those hard 2-3 yards. And Kyron Williams can be that guy if he can stay healthy. Matthew Stafford, still that guy. There's a reason why he owns every passing record in Lions history. There's a reason why the very next year that he was traded from Detroit, he takes LA to a Super Bowl victory. Like Matthew Stafford will probably never go down as like a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, maybe not even like an Aaron Rodgers, even though they have the same amount of Super Bowls. Matthew Stafford is still an incredibly intelligent quarterback, right? He knows how to read defenses as well as anybody. He's got an arm that can make every throw, and he does that no-look pass. Screw Patrick Mahomes. Matthew Stafford started the no-look pass in the NFL, and I mean he does it to perfection. It was a bummer for them that Puka went down, but that this dude Taylor Davis or whatever his name was seemed to step right up. If Puka can return, right? He was put on IR, but he was put on IR designated to return. So if he can come back in 4, 5, 6 weeks, they're 3-3 or better at that time. They're going to be a really tough team, and I think they will compete for the NFC West. I think they'll win 10 or 11 games. I think they'll make the playoffs. They are a good football team. They made the playoffs last year. They're maybe slightly worse on defense just because they don't have Aaron Donald anymore, but they will figure out how to create that pressure that Aaron Donald allowed them to create when he was on the team. And, they've got another 16, 17 games to do so. So, they're going to be there in the end. And for us to come out and win against a team that, lo and behold, every expert outside of Kurt Warner said was going to beat the Lions, for us to come out and beat them, a good football team like the Rams, was quite the statement, But this is who the Lions are now. We are the brand new Lions. We are not the same old Lions. We have the best offensive line in football. I don't care what anybody says. Led by Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker on the other side. We've got Frank Ragnow, who's the best center in football. Penei Sewell might be the best tackle in football. We've got the best offensive line. They can do whatever they want because of that offensive line. They can run through the tackles. They can do the spread. The sweep offenses. They can do play action pass. They can give Jared Goff time to throw downfield. When you have the best offensive line in football, you can do anything you want on offense. You can most importantly, you can control the clock. David Montgomery, not just because of, they're, with a lot of help from the best offensive line. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, best running back duo in the league, hands down. You've got two guys that have the speed to break it up the seam, but can also run up between the tackles. David Montgomery is probably the hardest running back to bring down right now, and never goes down on first contact. By the end of the game, he's doing chunk plays in the zero gap. You know what I mean? We're doing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards a pop, and we're just running it down the throat, going right into the heart of the defense, saying, we're better than you, and we're going to prove it right now. David Montgomery going right down the field in overtime to win that game proves that we can physically beat you at the line of scrimmage, physically beat you at controlling the clock. We had Jamison Williams goes off finally. Here's this dude. He was highly touted coming out of Alabama, misses the first, it was like 10 games or something with a torn ACL his rookie year. He comes back for the last 6 and plays maybe 10 plays all season. He gets suspended in the offseason last year, so he misses the first 6 games. Comes in, not really acquainted with the offense, still trying to get him up to speed. Has a great back end, right? Finishes the season very strong, and goes into the comes out in the playoffs as a legit threat to be reckoned with. And today was, and Sunday was his statement day. He came out and there was a lot of hype behind him, a lot of stuff talked about him being the hardest worker at camp and all this jazz. And he came out and he tore up the Rams secondary. It's, beats them deep with a 52-yard bomb, does some jet sweeps. He had like 30 yards on the ground on a couple of carries, and really showed that he has the potential to be a breakout star this year that we as Lions fans have really kind of been hoping would have happened last year. Aiden Hutchinson is a legit superstar, and I feel great saying that, considering when he first came out, his rookie season a couple of years ago, he looked like fucking ass. Like he was he was cutting in, he was missing, he was just getting beat on the outside. He wasn't getting pressure Every once in a while he'd make a great play here or there, maybe in the pass game, or he'd get a tackle for loss because they were coming down his, they were coming into his gap. But he's really stepped it up as a legitimate playmaker now. I mean, it's at the point where he's getting held pretty much every down. He's getting pressure on a consistent basis. He's recognizing outside runs. He's recognizing screen plays and stuff like that, and actually getting into position, not getting beat on these little dump off passes and stuff, or edge runs that he was when he was a rookie. And so he has really stepped it up and become that premier player that we were expecting, which has taken a lot of pressure off of Alex Anzalone, who had a fantastic game. I think 10 tackles, 3 of which were tackles for loss. He's been the heart and soul, the middle, the captain of our defense for a few years now, and he is a legit linebacker in the NFL. The revamped secondary is scary good. I mean, the Rams are a very good offense, right? You've got Cooper Kupp. For a little while there, you had Puka Nacua, and they were able to limit their production. Last year we did okay, but we gave up a bunch of deep play, like a bunch of big plays deep. And in this one, we gave up a couple of first downs here and there. We didn't give up anything too far down the field. We didn't give up any big plays. They caught the ball in front of us. We made the tackle. And so this secondary is young. They're talented, and they're going to get better as they play together. Kirby Joseph had a pick in the red zone. We can disguise our defenses now, confuse quarterbacks, get them to throw into coverage, and it's only going to get better as the season progresses. As long as we can stay healthy, they're going to be a surprisingly good secondary, and I'm very happy to say that, because that's always been our biggest weakness, is we just get beat on the bomb passes. They didn't need to unleash Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta. Love those guys to death. Killed my fantasy teams, though. I needed them to score some points, and they didn't really do much. I take that they didn't do much in the in the stat box. They're out there blocking for their running backs, for their other wide receivers. They didn't need to utilize them that much, which is great, because it allowed us to get the run game going. It allowed us to get Jameson Williams going. It's when it comes down to it, and we can start melding this all together, and we get Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta involved, along with Jameson Williams and Gibbs and Montgomery, we're going to be the best offense in football. Jared Goff is the most efficient quarterback when it comes to play action passing. And that's what we want to do. We want to pound you into submission until you get so frustrated that you bring 8 people in the box, and then boom, we're going to hit a 20-yard pass over your head, maybe take it 50 yards for a touchdown. That is what we want to do as a football team. Oh, we need to make up some points. We're down 10, 13 points. Now we can start doing chunk plays, because we're gonna send Jameson Williams down the field, and then we're gonna have Sam Laporta do like a little 5 to 10 yard out, and boom, he's gonna catch it and pick up another 5-6 yards afterwards. We've got Amon-Ra, who can play both the slot and the outside receiver. Once we get it all working together, and it's only week 1. Again, you don't want to put too much out there, because then you're going to give all the other teams that tape on you, and you don't want to give away your best secrets, right? So we kind of play in a conservative game plan, trying to get certain people going. Once we open up the playbook and we really start putting points on the board, I think we're going to be top 2-3 best offenses in the league. It's going to be, I have a feeling, knock on wood, knock, knock, knock. I think it's going to be a great season. I have this feeling we're going to win 13, 14 games. We're going to win the NFC North again for the second year in a row. We're going to be the 1 seed in the NFC. I do believe, and I picked this on my other podcast, I believe the Lions will win the Super Bowl this year. I think it is our year. We've been waiting forever. You know, the Lions are one of the most liked teams in the country. I think everybody's ready for the underdog to finally take over, and it's our year. As long as we can stay healthy, you know, if we start losing players due to injury, that always derails the season. But if we can stay healthy, we can keep our playmakers on the field. We're going to be as good as anybody every single Sunday, Thursday, Monday, whatever day we seem to play on. But every week we're going to be one of the 2-3 best teams in the NFL, and we're going to be right there at the end of it. 13, 14 game wins, NFC North title, 1 seed in the NFC, making our way to the Super Bowl for the first time ever. And might just be a homer pick, but I'm a homer. All right. Last little commercial segment before we get into our final segment. Ghost Dave, my man. I know this is the third time I've talked about it. I hope you hear this. Thank you for buying that hoodie, my man. I can't thank you enough. If you're the only person that actually buys one, then that's okay too, because I can't thank you enough for all the support you've given me since you found my channel playing Fallout all those years ago. It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I go over to Twitch for a little while. If I start spouting out some bullshit on Twitter, come back to YouTube. You've been there through thick and thin, and your loyalty has not gone unnoticed. I promise you that. So thank you again for checking out the link. I encourage you all to do so as well. But Ghost Dave, thank you from the bottom of my heart for purchasing that hoodie, my man. You look good in it, and I hope it brings you a lot of success. All right. Get into our fourth and final segment. It's the cinema segment, the movie segment, TV segment. It's one of my favorite things, actually, because I really do, outside of video games, it's funny, like, I have a passion for video games, right? It's like my hobby, but movies to me was, and always has been, kind of the thing. Like, and part of this is, me just realizing that my career in it is probably over, and having to deal with that. But I love visual storytelling, and that's I try to do the streams as if I'm like I'm a character. And I had talked about this before. Like when I'm streaming, I'm BigSweetC. I'm not Chris Harrison, right? I'm not Christopher Harrison. I'm BigSweetC, and so I try to put on a character as if I'm playing a character, because I am. I want it to be entertaining, like an extended film, right? And so that's that's what I try to bring with, and that's why I like talking about movies. Specifically, recently we've been talking about what's wrong with cinema today, and we're going to continue that conversation. My wife and I watched this Netflix show called Chaos. I think it was 8 episodes. We watched it in the last 3 days. It's this story about the myth of Zeus, him and his possible downfall. But it's not set in like 100 BC Athens or anything like that. It takes place in Crete. But this is as if this religion lasts through the ages, and we're looking at it now, right? It takes place in a today type setting. We just happen to still believe, and they're actually real. We believe in Zeus and Mount Olympus and the Minotaur and everything. And so it wasn't that great of a show, and like I was telling my wife this as as it's ending up. I'm like, I didn't think it was all that good. But I wasn't unhappy that I watched it, because the truth is I haven't really felt that anything recently has been that good, that up to par. And so my question is, what's wrong with cinema today? And like, I think chaos is the perfect example because you base it on these myths, right? Myths and religion, they're supposed to have a deeper meaning to it. Like, it's not supposed to just be a story that was told, it's supposed to have a reason for being told, right? Story of Jesus. Here's this guy who comes down, has to live with the fact that, he's about to sacrifice his own life for the betterment of everybody else, right? And so you have and then you like the 10 commandments. You have these commandments: thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not commit adultery. And we're supposed to follow these rules because the karma behind it, right? The story behind it. So and so did this, which led that person to become this. And so this is why we don't do that anymore. Like, movies don't have that deep meaning or that deep understanding of art anymore. They don't say anything. They're all surface level, no content. So you get a bunch of Marvel type movies where it's really flashy and really cool, and you got all these special effects and all these explosions and all these sexy people being sexy, but it doesn't say anything. There's no context behind the content. It's just a story for story's sake. And so there's no real connection to it, right? And that's why, these movies aren't going to last very long. People are, I was reading an article the other day. People are tired of the Spider-Man films. Are you kidding me? Spider-Man's one of the greatest stories ever. And people are like, oh my God, they're going to make a fourth one. We've had enough of this, because they don't say anything. They've ripped out the deeper meaning of the art form to put some flashy stuff on TV. And it's pretty much that way across the board. Chaos was just an excuse to put a bunch of people that I feel bad because I'm about to say this. They were unattractive. They were fat. They were ugly. Jeff Goldblum is an old man, and he's the top billing. He's the picture on the poster. He plays Zeus. He's only in the show for maybe half the time. The show, even though the story revolves around him, he's hardly in it. He's not the main character. He's not who we follow. He just happens to be in it. And then it's this crazy story about the fall of the gods and all this stuff. But it doesn't say anything. Like, it just doesn't say anything. It's just, this happens here, so that happens there. This happens there, so that happens there. Why does this happen? What are we supposed to be taking away from this? There's nothing there. It's just a bunch of random people telling a story. And Matt Damon had a great interview here on YouTube on Hot Ones, I think is what it's called. But it's like this YouTube show where celebrities come on and they try to eat the hottest wings that they can and not puke or throw up or whatever. But they also give an interview as well, and so Matt Damon is asked, what does he think of the state of filmmaking today? And he brought up this great point. He's like, like, today it's hard to make movies that I want to make, and he's talking about movies like the one he did with Ridley Scott, and I can't remember the name of it, The Last Duel or something to that effect. He's talking about the movie that he did with fuck, I can't remember his name. But he did a movie where he played this gay character, right? Movies like The Talented Mr. Ripley, movies like Good Will Hunting, right? He's talking about how those movies don't get made anymore because you have all this investment in making a movie, right? Your company puts up $25 million to make the movie, then you have to put up $50 million to advertise that movie, and you get into the theater, it only makes maybe $20 million at the opening weekend or whatever, and so you're negative $50 million. Well, you used to have DVD sales where you could add behind the scenes content, or you could do the director's cut or whatever. And basically it's a completely new release, right? And so you were making money on the DVD release, which studios make infinitely more money on a DVD release than they do on a theatrical release, because you don't have to share the revenue with the theatrical companies, right? And so, studios were willing to take those risks and make a movie like The Other Boleyn Girl, or like a She's All That or whatever, because they knew even if they didn't make it up in the initial theatrical release, they would then be able to recuperate a lot of that loss during the DVD sales. Well, streaming has eliminated that. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but DVDs are not a thing anymore. Like I'm sure they still make them. I'm sure you can still buy them. They're probably online only, but Netflix and Disney Plus and Max and all this have basically killed the idea of a DVD. And so companies are not going to invest all this money into a movie that they need the DVD release to help recuperate profit. And it sucks because you're going to miss out on a lot of good stuff, a lot of original ideas, a lot of avant-garde movies like Pulp Fiction, will never get made again. The Matrix will never get made again. Fight Club will never get made again. Because these are movies that are risky, right? Scarface was a bomb at the box office. Now it's considered one of the greatest movies of all time. If it wasn't for the DVD release, or in that day and age, the VHS release, that movie, those movies now those movies wouldn't get made anymore, because they're not willing to take the risk of losing $100 million. Look at Disney. The Acolyte is the perfect example. They went out and they made this show for the modern audience, and the modern audience didn't watch it. And everybody that did watch it, they had this critique that, hey, this doesn't seem very good. You didn't do very good here. This is a problem. That's a problem. They were told, this show is not for you. This show is for the modern audience. Well, the modern audience doesn't exist. So they didn't watch your show. It's the lowest rated show of all time on Disney Plus, or for Star Wars. And it got canceled after one season because it cost $180 billion or whatever to make. It was like $22.5 billion an episode, and nobody watched it. You think Disney is really that fucking stupid? Like, Disney already has a bunch of disasters on their hands. The Snow White movie, probably going to bomb. Acolyte, huge failure. And so there's only so much risk a company is going to take before their shareholders, of all people, start going, hey, what the F is this? The only reason I'm investing in your company is because you're supposed to make money, not just burn it on fire, set it on fire. And so it's kind of a catch-22, like you're not going to get these risky movies like a Pulp Fiction or a Fight Club. And we're going to get stuck with only Marvel movies for the rest of our lives. But at the same time, the audience has shown those are the only movies that they're willing to go to. And a lot of it, I'm sure, is probably because it's so expensive to go see a movie nowadays. Like it's $20 a ticket. It's fucking another $50 for snacks and everything. And so it's just so outrageously expensive to go see a movie that people aren't going to go see something that they might not like, or they're not going to see something where it takes a little bit of brain power to think about it. Like, again, I know I keep going back to Pulp Fiction, but as the audience of that movie, it takes a certain type of intelligence and attention span to watch something like that, because it's not told in a linear way. It's not told in a basic ABC setting, right? And so a lot of people are going to be turned off by that fact. They're not going to want to sit there and try and figure out a movie, right? They just want to be entertained for a couple hours. And so, it's a catch-22 because the audience doesn't go to it. The studio doesn't want to make it because there's no way for it to really become a success in the future. You have basically the opening weekend, maybe a couple of weekends after that, and that's it. That's it. If it doesn't make its money back, it's gone, poof, vanish, over with. Maybe it gets to a streaming platform, but probably not. Maybe in the terms of depending on who releases it, like like Disney puts out their own stuff, but Miramax is owned by Disney. Miramax was supposed to be their avant-garde stuff, their outside the box thinking, like Fox Searchlight was for Fox. The way the Miramax days are going to go bye-bye, because if you don't watch it, they're not going to spend the money on it to make it in the first place. They're not going to spend the money to put it up on the internet, because regardless of what people think, it takes money to put stuff on the internet. You have to buy that space you're using on the web to put it up there. And so they're not going to make these investments in stuff that they're not going to make their profit back, because they're not here to make art. They're here to make profit. They are a for-profit company. And so, we end up just getting spoon-fed this, need for content that they'll just give anybody a job outside of somebody that really wants to do a good job. They're willing to give anybody with an alphabet letter by their name a job. But they're not necessarily willing to take the risk of, like a Matt Damon, right? Because you can't promote it in any way other than Matt Damon. So imagine me, right? I'm a Matt Damon. I'm a straight white male, right? So I come up with this idea, and doesn't matter if it's the greatest idea ever. I go to pitch it to a studio. They go, "How do we market this?" And I say, "Well, you market it this way, this way, this way." All they say to me is, "We can't market to the LGBT community because you're a straight white male. We can't market it to the black community or the Latino community or the Asian community because you're a white guy." Right? Like, all they can do is we can put it out and hope that people go watch it. That is how these people think nowadays, because again, it's about putting butts in the seat. It's not about creating good content. And that's why you get this this garbage that clearly hasn't been vetted enough. You get shows like The Acolyte, where anybody with half a brain that's seen one Star Wars movie could go, "Hey, why are we doing this? Why is this here? We already have established that this is that." But you don't have that. You have these people that have been DEI'd into their position, and they don't really know what they're doing. But streaming companies need content so much that they're just rushing this out without doing any thorough work on it whatsoever. And I don't mean to sound bleak, but because there's still good filmmakers out there. There's still Quentin Tarantino is supposedly making one more movie, and then he's gone. But you still got David Fincher, you still got Christopher Nolan, Paul Thomas Anderson. They don't put out movies all the time, and so usually you can believe that they're trying to put attention to detail into these movies. But you can't rely on 4 or 5 people putting out a movie every 3-4 years. We're gonna need that next Quentin Tarantino. We're gonna need that next David Fincher, that next Christopher Nolan, that next Steven Spielberg, right? We're gonna need those guys or gals, whichever. We're gonna need those people to come on and take over for the next generation. But it's gonna be almost impossible to find them, because studios are not willing to do the risky thing, And so I don't know how we kind of get out of this spiral of this spiral of BS, for a lack of a better term, because it one side's going to have to break. Either everybody's going to have to one day up and go, "You know what? We've had enough of this. We want some actually good movies." And they're not going to go see another movie unless the next Pulp Fiction pops out, or the next Matrix movie comes out, or the next Fight Club, or the next There Will Be Blood. Or the studio is going to have to go, "Okay, you know what? No one's making these types of movies anymore. Let's see if there's an audience." More likely, we're going to have to do ourselves a favor as an audience and demand better than expecting one of the studios to just up and decide to take risks like that, because very very likely they're going to fail. And there's only so much money you can lose before your company goes under. So, um, but yeah, we really need the next David Fincher badly. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Am I off on today's cinema? Is it better than ever? Prove your point. I know I got a lot of friends out there that love the Marvel stuff. You know, they watch every movie they see. Seems to be the greatest movie they've ever seen. So tell me what I'm missing. Are the Lions going to win the NFC North? Who's your pick to make it to the Super Bowl? Am I completely wrong about the Lions and the Rams? Was this, was this a game where the Lions got lucky because the Rams really aren't as good as everybody thinks they are? And what did you guys think of Life is Strange? Are you going to pick up double exposure? Have you played any of the 3 previous games? Is Square Enix the company that I think it is? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys would like me to talk about in a future episode as well. If you have something, I know, again, I know a few of you guys like Nico Dude have pitched out ideas. Bring them on. Bring them on. I'd love to hear what you guys would like me to talk about. If you haven't done so yet, do me that favor, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell. If you're over on Spotify, hit that follow button. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you know when I do drop a new video or go live here on YouTube. When I drop a new podcast over on Spotify, and drop down in the description box below. Follow me over on Twitter if you're into politics and how the establishment is out to get us. Follow me over on Instagram if you want to see more of my personal behind the scenes life. And definitely follow Ghost Dave's example. Check out that link to Teespring and cop yourself some merch. I think it turned out really well. I like the options that we have, and I think you guys will too. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube or Spotify, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. As long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness. Signing off. Peace.